friends. This is Dr. Mukund Revdiwala once again welcoming you to this class of CC-101. As you know, I started talking about Montaigne in the unit number 4 of Acquaintance. Now this is second lecture in which I am going to discuss with you another acquaintance, and the name of that author is Francis Bacon. Chronologically, Francis Bacon follows Montaigne. Montaigne, as we discussed in the last lecture, introduced the form of essay, but it was Francis Bacon who gets the credit of being a father of the essay writing in English. As we discussed last time, Montaigne belonged to France, whereas Francis Bacon belongs to England. So let's talk about Francis Bacon. So Francis Bacon, as you have a picture of Francis Bacon on the slide, he was born in 1561 and passed away in 1626. So we can say he has lived nearly for 65 years. Now here the picture that we have on the slide is of Francis Bacon at the age of 18. But at that time Francis Bacon had not become the Francis Bacon that we know. The Francis Bacon that we know, that means after his establishing himself as an author, Francis Bacon looked like this. This is the picture that is known to the literary circles as a picture of Francis Bacon. Okay? Now, Francis Bacon, as I told you, he was born in 1561. But to be very particular about the date and month of his birth, he was born on January 22, 1561. And his father was a famous lawyer and statesman in London. So we can easily understand that Francis Bacon was born not to a poor family, but to a rich family whose father was a lawyer, whose father was a statesman. Statesman means a person having some position in the political arena of the state. Bacon was educated at Trinity College, University of Cambridge. So he was born in a very good, rich, well-to-do family. Then he studied in a reputed college like Trinity College in the University of Cambridge. He got elected to the House of Commons in 1584 and served it till 1614. So this is just an outlook about the life of Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon, he got education at a better place, and then we can say around the age of 23-24, when he might be 23-24, he got elected to the House of the Commons. As we know, in England, English Parliament, we have House of Commons and the House of Lords. So he got elected to House of Commons, and not only got elected, he served there for almost, we can say, 30 more years. So 84 to 1640. He enjoyed various offices in the government, but towards his later life, he was prohibited to court and deprived of all the positions. So this is something that we find happening in the lives of the politicians. આપણી ગુજરાતીમાં કહેવત છે, રાજા વાજા ને વાંદરા ક્યારે એમનું છટકે એ કહેવાય નહીં. તો પોલિટિક્સમાં હતા બેકન, એટલે 30 વર્ષ સુધી બરાબર, પણ પછી જે કોઈ સત્તાધીશો હતા એમની સાથે એમને અનુકૂળ ન આવે તો પરિસ્થિતિ એવી પણ આવે કે ભાઈ રાજ દરબારમાં આવવાનો પણ પ્રતિબંધ મુકાઈ ગયો. So that was the condition of Francis Bacon. I'll show you one picture just after this slide where we find Francis Bacon arguing with the parliament and talking about his condition. So he was a member of parliament. He was a person elected to House of Commons. He stayed there for 30 years, but later on the conditions took place in such a way that he was prohibited to enter the parliament, to enter the court, and all the facilities of a politician were taken away from him. He was deprived of, he was just shredded of all the positions. During these evil days, he devoted his time and energy to the pursuit of literature. Now, when he got free from his political duties, he decided to divert his energies to pursuit of literature. So he started contributing in the field of literature. Here is the picture that I was talking about. You can see the man standing in the middle of the scene in almost, we can say, orange kind of dress. He is Francis Bacon, and he is presenting his case towards the other members in the parliament, other members in the court. So this is what we find a thing or an incident that took place in the life of Francis Bacon. Okay. Let's see what are his major literary contributions. The New Atlantis is one of the best known, well known, we can say, one of the well known literary work by Francis Bacon. Then we have the Advancement of Learning in 1605, History of Henry VII in 1622. But they were good works. They gave him some, or rather we can say they earned him some good repute. But the name that we know, Francis Bacon as an essayist. So that essay writing gave him the name of Francis Bacon as an essayist, name of the father of essay writing in English. So, but it is his essays. You can see essays, ત્રાંસુ લખાયેલું છે, that is in italics, and that shows that the title of the book of essays was itself essays. So essays that earned him fame in world literature. So he became famous in the world just because of his book on essays. Bacon's essays were published in 3 successive editions, and these editions were in 1597, 1612 and 1625. So it shows when a book gets more editions, book is printed in number of editions, it means the book is popular. So this book of Francis Bacon got different editions for, and that too very quickly following each other. So as W.J. Long puts it, W.J. Long is a historian, and he says something about Bacon and his essays. He says Bacon's famous essays, here essays means the collection of essays in a book titled Essays. So Bacon's famous essays is the one work which will interest all students of our literature. W.J. Long thinks that this collection of essays by Francis Bacon under the title Essays is such a book that it will attract the learners of English literature, the students as you are. So in this way, W.J. Long predicted that this is going to be a very popular book among the students. Okay, we go ahead. Bacon says about his essays, he says his essays are certain brief notes set down rather significantly, then curiously, which I have called essays. The word is late, but the thing is ancient. So, Bacon says, I am not doing something new. I have given a new name to a kind of writing which was very much there in the earlier times as well. It is nothing but certain brief notes. And what do we find in the essays of Bacon? Bacon selects a topic and then he just floats his ideas on that particular topic. So he says these are nothing but certain brief notes, certain short or small notes set down rather significantly than curiously. And I have given a proper importance to those ideas, and I have given my ideas, I have put my ideas under those titles, which I have called essays. અને પછી મેં એને essay નામ આપ્યું છે. So the word might be new. Late here, late does not mean late, coming late or that kind of late. Here late means latest. That means the word is new, but the thing that we are talking about, the thing that we are supplying you in the name of essays is ancient. So people in the past have also attempted this kind of writing, but now we are giving, or rather I am giving the title essay to this particular writing. Beckham is commonly regarded as the father of English essays. Let me tell you, nobody should confuse Montaigne and Beckham. Montaigne was a person who started writing in this form of essays. But Montaigne did not belong to England. Montaigne belonged to France. So Montaigne was from France. So we cannot say he can be called the beginner, initiator, founder of essay writing. Okay, in the world. But when it comes to essay writing in England, then the first remarkable or noticeable person in England was none other than Francis Bacon. And if Francis Bacon was the first person to try his hand on essays and do it successfully, then he is aptly called father of English essays. Okay? You have to remember this line, father of English essays, or phrase father of English essays, because if you want to appear for any kind of examination or quiz on literature, then this is a question that can easily be asked for the beginners. He borrowed the name essay. Okay, where did he get this name essay from? Essay શબ્દ આવ્યો ક્યાંથી એમના મગજમાં? So he borrowed the name essay from his French master Montaigne. So he accepts that he is indebted to Montaigne for this word essays. એ પોતે સ્વીકારે છે કે હું આ એસે શબ્દના માટે મારા ગુરુ મોન્ટેઇનનો આભારી છું અને એમનું મારા ઉપર ઋણ છે. For the writings he called dispersed meditations, because he says Montaigne called the essay not an essay, but he said dispersed meditations. Meditations means kind of thinking, vicharo, dhyanmagna થઈ જવું તે. But that is not logical. That is why we can say, that is why he is using the word dispersed meditation. And Bacon says he borrowed the name essay from the French master for the writings he called dispersed meditation. The writings that were called dispersed meditation by Montaigne Bacon called it an essay. As the subtitle, there is a subtitle to that book, Essays. And what is the subtitle? Counsels, Civil and Moral. Now let me tell you what is subtitle. Subtitle is a title attached to the main title or just following the main title, just giving you some idea about the main title. So, essays, counsels, civil and moral. Counsels means advice. So these essays by Bacon were nothing but different types of advice on different types of topics. And these topics were mainly related to civil life, or they were the topics were about the morality in life. So this subtitle उपनाम જેને કહીએ counsels civil and moral suggests the essays were guides to commonplace living or a handbook for success. So it is like a very good book written by Swami Sachidanandji or somebody else who is a philosopher, who is a guide, who provides good ideas to the society. Same way, these essays by Francis Bacon were nothing but the pieces of advice on different topics. And if somebody follows the essays of Francis Bacon, reads the essays of Francis Bacon, જો કોઈ એના એસેને વાંચે તો કદાચ એવું બને કે એના માટે એક સારું જીવન અને સફળતાની ચાવી બની જાય. So it was a guide to commonplace living. This book, these essays rather, were guide to commonplace living, good living, and handbook for success. So if somebody follows the essays of Francis Bacon, then there are more chances of his becoming successful in his life. In 1620, his Novum Organum was published. This was another work by Francis Bacon. Okay, now we move on to another slide, and that slide is about Francis Bacon. This is a statue of Francis Bacon, and that statue is placed in the Library of Congress at Washington, D.C. So it proves that Francis Bacon had a lot of very good reputation. He had a he was a reputed man. But towards the end of his life, he had to suffer. Otherwise, he lived a very good life from the very beginning, from the very birth to almost we can say first 2 decades of the 17th century. And let's see the other details about Francis Bacon. If we put or rather compartmentalize or divide the writings of Francis Bacon into 3 different categories, then the writings of Francis Bacon can be named in these 3 ways, or rather they can be divided into these 3 ways. The writings are philosophical, purely literary, and professional. Now you are the students in your prime, and you are the beginners as far as English literature learning is concerned. So let me tell you, by philosophical, I mean to say that he has taken up certain topics related to philosophy, and these topics are presented with his, as he calls, dispersed meditations or his counsels, civil and moral. So he just says or he presents his ideas on those philosophical topics. This is one group of writing that Francis Bacon has given. Then he has written some purely literary essays where you find literary topics or some happenings in the life of certain people. And then he has written some professional works. So in this way, he has philosophical contributions, literary contributions, and professional contributions. And if we take up the professional contributions by Francis Bacon, the list is as under. His professional works include, these are the titles of the works: Maxims of the Law in 1630. So you can understand 1630, almost towards the time when he was nearing the end of his life, and reading on the statute of usage. Now these are maxims of law and statute of uses. These are the works related to law, works related to parliament, works related to activities as a statesman. So they were basically the ideas related to the area where he had contributed a lot, almost we can say 30 years in his life, and he has written the essays on that particular area, and that is why we can say they are professional essays and a વ્યવસાય સાથે સંકળાયેલા નિબંધો છે. Bacon believed, next point, Bacon believed that knowledge is the fruit of experience. Very good line, and a very good line for the students to remember for the whole of their life. Knowledge is the fruit of experience. Even in Gujarati, we have a very good proverb, કહેવત છે, ઘરડા ગાડા વાળે. Now what do we mean by that? કોઈ કહે કે ઘરડા ગાડા વાળે એટલે આપણે એને મજાકમાં લઈએ છીએ. એ મજાક નથી, એની અંદર બહુ ઊંડો સંદેશો છે. What do we mean by ઘરડા? ઘરડા એટલે માત્ર ઉંમરની રીતે મોટા થયેલા નહીં. ઘરડાનો અર્થ થાય છે એવા લોકો કે જેમની પાસે ઘણો બધો અનુભવ છે. તો નોલેજ ઇઝ ધ ફ્રૂટ ઓફ એક્સપિરિયન્સ. અને જ્યારે જેને અનુભવ કર્યો છે જીવનમાં, તો અનુભવે એને ઘણું શીખવાડ્યું હોય, એટલે કે જ્ઞાન આવ્યું હોય. તો જ્ઞાન કેવી રીતે આવે છે? અનુભવના પરિણામે. And that is what Bacon said. He says that knowledge is the fruit of experience. If you are experienced person, if you have met a number of people, you have experienced number of incidents, you have participated in number of activities, then there are chances that you will learn something, or some ideas. You will earn some ideas, some information about that particular activity, about that particular travel, about that particular country, about particular profession, etc. etc. જે જગ્યાનો અનુભવ કરો છો એ જગ્યાનું જ્ઞાન મળે છે, અને એટલે જ બેકન કહે છે કે knowledge is the fruit of experience. At the end, Bacon died in London on April 9, 1626. As I told you, he lived for almost 65 years and then he passed away. But Bacon has given us a very powerful legacy of essay writing. He has given very good essays, and you will be studying the essays of Bacon somewhere in your career. So thank you for this listening, patient listening to my lecture. We shall discuss about another essayist in our next lecture. Thank you.